Paranormal Dimensions is a regular feature on Mondays on the Paranormal UK radio network. Any opinions or comments made by any guest are their own, and they do not necessarily reflect any of the presenters or network's opinions.
The instruments here are going crazy.
I think what we've been suspecting all along may already be happening, Doctor.
I'm almost sure of it. Get into your choppers and head north immediately. Don't stop for a thing.
Hello, this is Nick Pope, and you're listening to the Paranormal UK Radio Network, the UK's biggest paranormal network. And this is Paranormal Dimensions with David Young.
For me, this is the kind of show that I like doing most, where you basically just have a freewheeling discussion, have a chance to go off on topics. That's what's going to make you an outstanding player in the field. Just keep doing it.
Hello and welcome to another Paranormal Dimensions. Thank you for that introduction, Nick. And thank you for those kind words, Peter Robbins, who was also a recent guest of our guest today, Johnny Summers. So just before I start the show, I'd just like to say, if you'd like to get in contact with me at all, as usual, it's David Young, 2QN, at yahoo.co.uk. These are emails, of course. David Young, 2QN, at yahoo.co.uk. Right, today's guest is Johnny Summers. He's also another radio show host from another paranormal show, which has recently begun. And as I said, a recent guest of his was Peter Robbins. Now, I guess the question is, a lot of people ask, what actually is the paranormal? From Twilight to Paranormal Activity, our thoughts and fears are drawn to the dark world of the supernatural. At the edge of what we know, a dark continent of legend and belief stretches to a distant vanishing point. It is a realm inhabited by strange entities, ghosts, poltergeists, the undead, angels, demons, extraterrestrials, and is explained by theories from the occult to modern parapsychology, and shows like this. So with that in mind, I'd like to introduce today's guest, Johnny Summers. Hello Johnny, welcome to the show.
Hello there, David. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
I'm pleased to have you on the show, Johnny. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know too much about you. Now, you got a PZR rock radio. Now, is that a rock and roll radio, or is
It is. It's purely rock radio. We started that about 4 years ago.
Right.
And shoved it out there on the old interweb just to see what would happen. It was just one of those projects that you do. And it's grown. We now get about 4.5 million a week.
Wow.
Listeners.
That's good.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh, let's have a little talk about music, because music's one of my loves. I know we should be talking about paranormal. We can leave it for 5 minutes or so.
Sure.
So what sort of rock music do you play? Is it all types?
No, it's rock, my friend. It's rock. It's a little bit of metal, a touch of punk maybe splashed in between, but it's basically guitar-based music, which predominantly is rock, yeah.
Right, yeah. Okay. Oh, sorry, because I'm a big Elvis fan, so they don't play Elvis.
Nothing wrong with that.
No. And the Rolling Stones and the Beatles, all the old populars.
Yeah, we play all that.
You do? Oh, that's all right.
Yeah.
Oh, you're a mate of mine now, then.
Yeah, there's a nice bit of Elvis kicking off. Normally, in the mornings, there's a bit of a playlist of Elvis, a whole lot of shit going on. And
right,
all that
okay,
sort of stuff.
yeah. Well, into his later stuff as well. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, obviously.
No, I've been a big Elvis fan all my life, That's one of the earliest pieces of music I can sort of remember listening to, and it's
really
still stayed with me right until he died. Well, still today, even,
I think that's what a lot of people say, David, really. It's timeless, isn't it? I think a lot of his stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I was one of the ones that were really hit hard when he died, in 1977. I was 27 at the time, so I was still fairly young. But it did hit me hard at the time, But anyway, we won't dwell too much on that. I'm glad to hear that you're doing well anyway on that.
It's doing okay. Yeah,
So-
it's kind of like took over a little bit, and I've got a couple of guys that look after it a little bit more now than I've got time to do. But yeah, they're doing really well with it. So
Right.
well done them.
So how does the paranormal come into it? How, does it branch out? Have you got paranormal shows on there?
No, not at all. Not on that channel. No. How does the paranormal? Well, to be honest, I've always had the passion for the paranormal, the ufology, the zoo cryptology, everything along those lines. Anything with a high strangeness level to it, David. I've been into from the year dot. Really, I've had all kinds of weird experiences, shall we say, from as early as I can remember. And it's been a passion, really. That's and it's only just recently, within the last year, I've decided to take that passion and move it forward and bring it into the media world. Yeah.
Right. There's nothing wrong with that because you kicked off recently with your shows.
The Invited series. Yeah, that's right.
That's what I mean. So it's like a spin-off from your network show, is it? Kind of thing.
No, it's a completely different thing. It's a brand new project. It's not something that I found was readily accepted, if I'm truthful with you, David, from the music fraternity. It's a kind of, for me, if you will, it's a kind of coming out of the UFO closet, and outing myself as a ufology kind of researcher, investigator, and passionate person about it, because the ridicule within the music business, which I've been involved with for quite a long time, was rife. And whenever I did mention anything about, oh, hey, Johnny, you're into little green men, aren't you? Snigger, snigger, snigger. And that's the kind of attitude I used to get. So I kind of kept it under wraps until just recently, really.
Right, so you kept your dirty raincoat on.
Yeah. That's it.
and by the way, they're grey, not green.
Yeah, they're grey little men. I do get that.
You don't hear too much about little green men, do you now? It's always greys or little blue men or something.
It's a culture thing, isn't it? It's a pop culture thing, I think. Yeah, it's whatever's selling the most. It's whatever Hollywood wants you to think.
Now, my most recent show, like last week, was actually with Spiros Polaris. Now, as you know, he was actually, I suppose you do know, about the alien autopsy.
Oh, definitely.
Which got us all going in the, when it first came out, 25 years ago.
Yeah,
were you fooled by it?
Yes, at first, hands up, I thought, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Wow, this is great. And then I looked into it a little bit more, and then I read Philip Mantle's book, which blew my mind completely. And that's where I got to learn of the name Spiros as well, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, even Philip Mantle was fooled in the first place, wasn't he, in the first instance? I think
we all were, mate, to be honest with you. Well, I don't know, were you? Were you fooled?
I was fooled, yeah, I've got to admit. I mean, I bought I had the original VHS tape and all that, which I've got hold of.
Really?
And I'm looking at it and thinking, you're trying to pick holes in it, but you think it looks so real. But of course, we know now when Spiros points things out for us, you can see what he's talking about when he says, because he's an expert filmmaker, he points out things that, you didn't see this and you didn't see that and you saw that and and he knew how to place things and how to make things look authentic, I suppose is the word.
Yeah.
But so it's very clever. But I was fooled too. But,
well, I think a lot of people in the ufology area, including myself as well. I mean, I wanted it to be real, if I'm really honest with you, mate.
Yeah, I guess we all did, didn't we?
It's one of the first kind of concrete things that was handed to us on a plate. And since then, I think a lot of people have become a little bit too sceptical, which is not a bad thing in some respects. I think we need to keep our wits about us. Yeah. But, good old Ray Santilli, bless him.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, Spiros makes me laugh when he said he found out about it himself. I think he was in Japan, sipping a cup of coffee in the living room, and all of a sudden it comes on the telly, and he spat his coffee out. What's that? He had to phone Ray Santilli up and say, "It's on the telly. What's going on here?"
Yeah.
Because he'd basically forgotten all about it, sort of kind of thing.
Did he?
Yeah.
Did he not think that what he was doing was going to be for a film or something like that? Was that the score? The original
idea apparently Ray Santilli contacted Spiros, or somehow they got together somehow, and showed him this film. He told him he had an alien autopsy film. And now when Spiros looked at it, he said, "This is not very good. I can do it properly." You know, so like Spiros, I think, said to, "Are you trying to fool me, or you know, or are you trying to convince me that this is real?" But anyway, Spiros somehow said that I could do this much better, and he did. He did make his own film for it, which is the one we all know about. I think the original idea was they were going to put it out and give it to the papers or see. No, I think it was Channel 4 or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Give it to the station for nothing. And say, look, we've got this film, you know, and see what you come up with. You know, investigate it, see what you come up with. And then sort of about, you know, probably 6 weeks or a couple of months later, they were going to come clean and say, right, okay, well, we fooled you then because we made that.
Yeah,
You know? But what kind of happened, I don't know. It seems to have, Santilli seems to have gone to all the different networks and sold it and made quite a lot of money. But basically, I suppose Spiros basically forgot about it, you know. You know, but it's only when, of course, it appeared on the television in front of him when he was sitting in Japan, I think it was. He said, and as I said, he spat his coffee out, as you would,
as you do. I thought, what the heck's that? Yeah, I mean, I know Santilli, he made a killing, didn't he, over there in the States?
Yeah, and he's still trying to make a killing. Apparently, he's still saying he's got now a frame of the film. And he's trying to sell it for $1 million.
Good on him. I love all of that.
But of course, Spiros
is the guy.
Yeah, I mean, Spiros is. He explains on the show. He's given a cease and desist on it. And I think it's going to end up in court eventually. And somebody's going to be in trouble because they've used the words the CIA authenticated it and stuff like that. So
really,
someone's going to be in trouble. You know.
I should think so. There's a head or two rolling there. Hey, watch this space.
As I say, if anyone's not listened to that show from last week, you ought to give it a listen because it's quite entertaining.
I haven't caught up with that one yet, mate, but I will be. Yeah, I normally catch up with your shows over there on through the Paranormal Network through the YouTube. So I'll be hunting that one down for sure.
Obviously, Spiros doesn't go into the full story. He's been on the show a couple of times before, which you can go into the deeper story of it. So he does give like a potted version of it, and then sort of goes on to what's happening lately, you know, with his book coming out and everything. Anyway, I'll move.
He sounds like an interesting chap. I might have to.
He's a lovely chap.
I might have to get him on the show.
Yeah,
might have to
I'm sure he will come on. Yeah,
he's a lovely guy. I've had a wee chat with him on Facebook Messenger. That's all I've gone there with him. But he sounds a lovely guy. Anyway,
I'll point him in your direction.
Oh, that's very kind of you, David. Thank you.
But how about the other? What about the alien mummies? Were you fooled by that?
The Peruvian ones.
Yeah.
It was Steve Mear and Barry Fitzgerald went out there to go and sort that out, didn't they?
Yeah. That's what I was going to say, because you've got Steve Mear coming on next week, haven't you? Yeah.
Well, it's the 17th of September. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. Well, Steve sent me over the videos to have a look, and to be honest, I'm sitting on the fence with that. I'm still undecided. As I say before, I want it to be real, David. I really do. With the Peruvian government not wanting to let them out of their sight and all the rest of it, and you know, it causes a bit of discernment everywhere, really, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, from my understanding, it's been made up of body parts. You know, that's what whether they're non-human or whatever, but. It was sort of said to Steve and Barry, you know, sort of a couple of years ago about all that. Funny enough, I got Barry on the show in about a month's time, I think it is.
Oh, right.
Fitzgerald, so you might want to catch that one. Whether we'll get into the alien mummies, I don't know, but.
Well, why not? Why not?
But,
why not indeed?
Be interested to see
he's a busy chap, Barry, though, isn't he?
He's a busy chap. Yeah, I was lucky to sort of get him to agree to come on actually. So that's one to look out for. That's what I'm looking forward to. He's another nice guy actually, Barry. Another gentleman.
Yeah.
But, I think your first show had Preston Dennett on.
Yes, Preston. He came on and shared his wealth of knowledge. A very nice guy. Extremely lovely guy. It's like with anybody that goes on to any kind of show, and you're always a little bit cagey at first, aren't you? You're a little bit reserved because you don't know quite where you're going. And then all of a sudden he just erupted, and then he was flowing, and yeah, we did about 2 hours and 40 minutes.
That's good, isn't it? Yeah,
That's all right.
I think one of my my biggest epic's been about almost 3.5 hours. It's about to chop it down a little bit, but
Right.
but yeah. I think your thing is you've got to think of the listeners out there. How many people can sit there for 3 hours listening to a show? You know, it's it's a bit hard pushed to even watch a film that long, isn't it? Sometimes.
Yeah, but you'd be amazed that they stick around. You know, you're looking at the viewing clock and they're still there.
I know. Yeah. But I suppose a lot of people may, if they download it, they can actually sort of catch up with it. You know, watch it, listen to it in pieces, can't they? I suppose.
Well, is your show able to be downloaded? Is it?
Yes.
You can do that through Spreaker. That's awesome. Yeah, that's great, because that's the best way.
It's on all the, well, so I'm told, it's on all the main platforms, like Apple and Spreaker and all the rest of them.
Yeah, they did shout them out, don't they, on Spreaker? It's pretty good.
Yeah, that's right. So, what about your own personal beliefs and things? I mean, have you ever had any incidents?
Oh, crikey, where do we start?
Okay.
Yes.
Sounds like you have then.
It sounds like I have, yeah. It's been a bit like that, really, mate. Yes, from a very early age, really. There's been incidences, shall we say. Not anything from a very early age that I could actually say, oh, look, there's a UFO, or look, there's a paranormal experience, because I didn't know any better until I got older. And then I'm kind of dotting the I's and crossing the T's with it, kind of realising what's going on. But yeah, it started young, mate. Yeah,
a bit like me. The same sort of thing as me. You don't realise. You think, well, what the hell was that later on in life?
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. So, would you like to give us a couple of instances?
Yeah, sure. I mean, absolutely.
Wait, what's the earliest thing you can remember?
Earliest thing would be really clear. The earliest thing would be 1976, and that would be in Cornwall. We went down. Do you remember the summer of '76, David?
I do. Scorching hot
really
summer.
Hot. Yeah. We were down in Cornwall near St Ives for a couple of weeks. It was absolutely gorgeous down there. I was 9 years of age or something like that, and we were on the beach, you know, down there in the St Ives, golden beaches, lovely water, absolutely. The sea was calm. It was like a mill pond. I've never seen it down there since like that. And we were having a lovely time. And I'm splashing about in the sea, and we've got our dog with us at the time, and the dog's gone splashing out into the sea. And I've gone splashing out after it because I didn't want it to drown. Something I can remember doing that. And as I'm splashing out, I'm seeing something on the horizon that's, it's elongated, with rounded edges. I suppose you could say it's a cigar-shaped kind of look, but I was seeing it from profile end onwards. And it just hovered there. And at first I looked at it and I thought, that's a weird looking boat. It's not touching the water. All these thoughts, the last thing in my mind would be UFO or anything like that, really. I wasn't really clued in. But it made rapid movement to my right-hand side, its left-hand side, and it just shot across the horizon at a rapid speed. And everybody, there was quite a lot of people on the beach, but it seemed like everybody saw it as well. And there was gasps and a couple of women screaming and all the rest of it as this thing went hurtling past on the horizon and disappeared behind the rock face towards our right-hand side. We didn't see it again, but that was my very first real recollection of something quite strange, yeah.
That's interesting. So with all the other people seeing it, did it get into the news at all, with the newspapers, do you know?
Not that I know of, mate. No, not that I know of. Although the weird thing is, down to the area of Cornwall, I've made many a visit down that way through my teens and my early 20s, and even up to my early 30s. And there's I'm going to give it a plug now. Mm-hmm. There's a cafe on the top of the cliff there called Surfer's Claff, or whatever it's called, Surfer's Cafe, and every time I popped down there throughout my teens, it was the same owner, and I would go in and I would say, do you remember that, blah, 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 and he would say, yeah, my wife saw that, and all the rest of it, to the point then where it became a bit like a standing joke. Every time I went down there, and he went, oh, look, the UFO boy's back. So become a bit like that, really. But yeah, there were a lot of people that seen it. Although in the papers and such, I don't think there was much coverage like that. I mean, I'm not too sure if people, well, the media at that point were all too hot on that kind of thing, really.
Yeah. Well, they usually take the mickey out of things like that anyway, don't they? As soon as you mention UFOs or aliens or anything, even today, they don't. They just start laughing and giggling, don't they? Which is all silly.
Well,
which is all very silly to me, because I think they're the ones that look the fools. Because anyone that thinks that there's not life out there and they could be visiting us, you know, I think it's all quite feasible. You know.
Well, I think you're right, especially nowadays with all the bits and pieces that's going on with disclosures or non-disclosure, whatever's going on with the UAPs, as I like to call it now, and all that. I think a few people are, you know, I've had a few people who, within my time within the music industry, it was always kind of, well, you don't really want to talk about that, John. You don't really want to talk about this. And these people have come back to me and now asking me questions.
Yeah.
So the tides are slowly turning, I think.
Yeah, I think they certainly have. I mean, even airline pilots will talk about them more openly as well now, what they've seen.
Yeah.
You know, and even military pilots. So.
Yeah.
So
moving more forward now, isn't it, mate?
Yeah,
I
certainly.
think a lot more people doing it.
So is it kind of your experiences? Are they mostly UFO experiences?
In my early age, yes, there were. Yeah, it was all really UFOs, if I'm honest with you. Sightings in the sky, aerial phenomena, that sort of thing. Seeing things at school, seeing things from an early age when because we moved across the country, we moved up north to go up and live in Yorkshire because my stepfather was MOD based. Wow. So we had to move up there. But yes, seeing things like that, aerial phenomena. And then as I got into my teens, it was more predominantly paranormal, and paranormal UFO based, which I fairly quickly assumed that then at a young teenage year that it was very much a connected thing.
Well, I think there are connections with a lot of it, you know. I never used to be able to see any connections between UFOs and ghosts, and but now I'm sort of, when you start looking at the interdimensional aspects of it, a lot of it comes together, doesn't it? You know,
it's frequency. It's very much that when you're looking at how we perceive things ourselves, you know, and it's all on a frequency base.
Yeah.
And this kind of thinking, conscious level, all the rest of that kind of feel, it's now coming more into the forefront, I feel, and people are beginning to understand, or at least coming round to the idea, let's put it that way, that maybe it is connected, yeah.
Yeah, I agree, especially when you realise nothing's solid and things can sort of move through each other, you know.
Yeah.
In a right, you know, it's quite. We I mean, really, when we look at our bodies, if you looked at them really close up, we've got such great spaces between all the atoms. It's amazing. You know, and that goes for anything, like your table in front of you and your chair and everything. And who's to know that in the table in front of you is that a whole new universe? You know, that's kind of the way I look at things. I mean, we could be in a chair leg or something, couldn't we? You know.
That's very true. That's very true.
That's kind of the way.
It's like the analogy of the three men that are blindfolded and they're sat next to an elephant. Have you heard this one? They sit next to an elephant. One grabs the tail and they assume they've never seen the elephant before. They assume that the elephant feels like a rope.
Yeah.
And the other one grabs a leg and they feel that one assumes that the elephant feels like a tree trunk. Yeah. Whereas the third one, who's blindfolded, feels the trunk of the elephant and just thinks that the elephant is a long snake.
Yeah.
So it is very much upon perception, I feel. And we've all got our own different perceptions of what the elephant is.
Yeah, that's an interesting analogy, that. I'm not sure if I've heard it before. It does sound a bit familiar, but it must have been a long time ago I heard it, because it's...
Yeah, I'm going to have a sit down now. It's maybe giddy. Yeah.
So paranormal experience. Do you do any sort of paranormal investigations yourself or research?
Not as much these days as I used to. I must be honest with you, but yes, I used to do a fair amount. I used to go out with a couple of paranormal investigations teams. One or two of them are a little bit hokey, should we say, on the lines of Most Haunted. There, and you kind of realise that, you know, there's people in the background making things move and making silly noises. But there were a couple of paranormal teams, especially I used to live down on the south coast, Portsmouth and Southampton area. And Yeah, there's a couple of teams there that I joined up with that are no longer, unfortunately, together. But we were finding some very weird stuff. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Very weird stuff.
And if Yvette's listening, we're not saying anything. No, actually,
we love you, Yvette. Honestly,
no,
and you, Carl Beatty. We love you too.
No, I'll tell you what. I actually quite like Most Haunted, even though some people sort of poo-poo it and all that.
I'll tell you what, I had the privilege of meeting Derek Akora one time.
Did you? Yeah, lovely man.
He's a gorgeous guy, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Absolutely, bless his heart. He was a gorgeous guy, a brilliant guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I believe he also is a good medium. There's a fact that because they were on the television, he was sort of caught in the trap of having to come up with results. Mm-hmm. You know, and of course, when people suggest things to you, he's got to say. Yeah. You know, he can't say, well, I can't, I'm not getting anything, you know. He's got to sort of perform, like a performing ape, really, aren't you? You know, to come up with some sort of result.
Well, you know what, mate? It's like, you know, you think about it, it's, who was it? Antics Productions, aren't they?
Yeah.
When you think about the production company being commissioned by a TV channel or whoever to come up with the goods, there's no guarantee you're going to come up with all the goods in the time slot and the money you've been given.
That's right.
That's all I'll say with that.
Yeah.
So you've got to bring up something.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to conjure something up, shall we say.
And they have a very long run as well, didn't they? I think they're up to about season 19 or something, didn't they?
I think, are they still not going?
I think they're still going. I think they go out privately now. I believe they do like an internet thing. I could be wrong.
Well, I'll tell you what, for entertainment value, mate, I give them 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I do. I mean, to be honest, and also for interest value, because what interested me most was the fact that the locations that they went to, they sort of told you the history of the place, which was very, which I found very interesting, more interesting than is there anybody there and all this sort of stuff. You know,
good old Richard Felix, eh?
Yeah,
he used to do
I like Richard.
That, didn't he?
Yeah. I've had Richard on the show actually.
Have you?
Probably about a year or so ago now. Yeah. Probably before the world went mad. You know.
Yeah. God, blimey, didn't it ever? It's still going mad.
Yeah, I know. It's getting worse. It's going to get madder.
We're fighting over toilet rolls soon. You watch that one again.
Yeah. Well, I've got a loft full, so I'm all right.
Oh, it was you that's sticking them on. Fair enough.
No, not really. After that last toilet out, we sort of make sure we're not going to run out here. Yeah. It went a bit mad. Not for a couple of years, anyway.
But yeah, with the paranormal stuff, yeah, we had some fun. We really did. And as I say, some of the groups, how things, you know, infighting, all sorts of things, and people falling out with the other one. And yeah, unfortunately, it came to a close. And I found myself drifting about, doing a lot of very much on my own, you know, Billy No Mates out there doing the paranormal thing, and then kind of figuring out that the ufology aspect was very strong with it as well. And did a fair amount on my own, really, surmising what I thought was right and everyone else is wrong, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then figuring out I was completely wrong and everyone else was right.
Yeah,
and,
well, the thing is, as long as you could admit that, because I mean, we could all make mistakes and think, you know.
Oh, plenty of them. I've made plenty of them. Absolutely.
It's I mean, why do you think people fall out in the field? It's just, do you feel that there's some sort of a jealousy comes into it or something? Or?
I think that's life, isn't it? That's life. I think you know, it's all about the ego at the end of the day when it comes to certain things. I think, you know, if you've got yourself a nice little bit of a run going and someone comes along, treads on your toes, some people don't like that.
Yeah.
You know. Personally, I like to embrace it. I like to, you know, bring it all in. I mean, there's enough room for all of us, you know.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the crazy thing is, I've had someone call me Mr. Ego. Now, I don't see myself as got an ego at all. I mean, I sort of love everybody, and I try to get on with everybody, you know. But it's
absolutely.
I don't quite understand where this sort of Mr. Ego style came from, because anyone that knows me, I haven't really got an ego. Well, not that I know of, anyway. You know,
not that. The same here, mate. I've been called, many a name like that. You know, what's up with you? It's all about you. Well, to be honest, sometimes yes, it is, because
I'm more of a shrinking violet. Actually, if you see me, if I'm ever out somewhere, I'm more of a shrinking violet than a Mr. Ego.
Are you really? Yeah.
Which is a bit crazy.
All right.
But anyway, this is not about me. This is about you.
It's not about me. It's not about me. It's about you. Yeah, I love all. That's what I keep saying. Exactly. Well, you see, the thing is, to answer your question in a little bit more, it's people do get upset, don't they, very quickly if you're doing something that goes against what the other person thinks or believes.
Yeah.
And I think with a lot of this ufology, paranormal kind of field, it's so fractured that one man's abominable snowman is another man's, I don't know, E.T. You know what I'm saying? Everyone's got different beliefs and different ideas, and I think sometimes there's a little bit of silliness going on as regards to that. In my personal view, I'm probably going to upset someone now saying that, aren't I?
Yeah. Well, no. I mean, I think the thing is, I think when you do start getting to know people, I've experienced it myself. Some personal issues start coming into it, and it sort of goes. Besides all, I still appreciate somebody's work, for instance, and their books and stuff. But as a person, I've lost all sort of respect for them, sort of thing. There's well, I think there's only one person I can think. I'm not going to name them, but there's only one person I can think of in that respect. And then you find out there's the frauds out there as well. One or two people you realise that you followed them for a little while, and then you find out they're frauds. You've probably found a few like that yourself.
I think you've been very polite with the word fools, David. Yes, for sure.
Well,
yeah, I think we all do that in anything in life, don't we? I mean, I've been in the music business for a long time, and there's plenty of fools out there in that line of business, believe you me. So I think with everywhere you go, there are fools, yeah, for sure. There are people who are trying to take you on their little, should we use that word again, ego trip. And if they've got something to sell, something to promote, something that will gain them, then they'll try and tag you along for the ride. And I think as we travel along as dare we say, investigators or researchers and such, it's a tricky road that we do trip up on. But as long as we're able to get back up, admit that we've made a mistake, we've looked a bit foolish, but we brush ourselves off and we continue with our quest, I think at the end of the day, we're learning. And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. I think some people use you as well. They'll use you for what you can get out of you. And when you're no good to them anymore, they it's a bit like music business. I guess that's like that as well.
Yeah, it's rife. Yeah. Chart City.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with you. But, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So about, so ghosts and things like that. Do you believe in ghosts?
Yeah. I believe in an afterlife, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, like me.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure about ghosts as a ghoulie ghost. I'm not too sure about that. I think it is dimensional, if I'm truthful. Now, I do steer clear of the religious aspects when it comes to this kind of thing, because
too,
obviously different religions come into different contexts. But I will say there is a common denominator, and that is with any kind of apparition or spirit or ghost, whatever you want to call it. The common denominator is that it is etherical, and it is electrically, statically charged, and that's how we get to see these things or experience their antics, that kind of thing. And I think, to be honest with you, and I'll stick my neck on the parapet here, I think it's interdimensional.
Yes, I could agree with you. And I think I'd go along with the lines what, like there's some sort of a recording that gets recorded. Yeah, because sometimes they don't seem to, as I understand it. I mean, I've never actually seen a ghost that I know of, that I don't think I have anyway. Right. But I understand that it's kind of a recording that they don't seem to know that you're there either, do they?
Some don't. I must be honest, some don't. No. I think a lot of what comes through does know you're there, and it's done for a reason. They come through because they want to make contact, which takes a lot of their energy. And it's obviously something that they feel important enough to do. But also, let's not forget, we do have those who aren't quite ready, shall we say, to move on.
Yeah.
And they're stuck in between, bless them.
Yeah. And these are the ones where they need help from a medium or a psychic or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, I've been on a couple of mediums, I would say. I've had a couple of mediums who have kind of encouraged the spirit to move onwards and move forwards using a candle or something along those lines, and asking the spirit to concentrate on that candle as a focus to move towards, quote a film, move towards the light, Carol Ann. But it seemed to work, because the house that was that we visited, this is in Dover now, this was 96. And 96. We're in Dover. This was quite an interesting story. We're in Dover, and there's this flat down by the seafront. Well, Dover's on the sea, but it's down by the seafront. And this poor woman, she's going crazy. The things are moving, things are shaking, loads of noises at night, it's keeping us awake. Her husband's just left her, so she's had a bit of trauma in her life, let's put it this way. Her eldest son is not exactly the most pleasant of people we ever come by. He was a bit dodgy, to say the least. So this poor woman's going through the middle of touch, all right? So we're kind of, at first, we've done the parapsychologist kind of thing with, hello, she looks as if she's had enough of life as it is. Maybe she's just looking for a bit of attention. Let's look at it that way. But we noticed certain things that were happening in the house whilst we were there. Now, we stayed over 2 nights, and we were obviously, going looking for things that we didn't find, but it was the stuff we weren't looking for that was happening. So, for instance, we're looking for all the anomalies. We're looking for orbs, or let me just say now, orbs. Don't make me laugh. There's no such thing as an orb in that sense. If you're going to get an orb, it's going to be, excuse my French, a bloody great big thing, or a prominent thing that will affect. It will affect the atmosphere. You'll know that it's there. But when you see a lot of these programs with the infrared camera and you see these orbs, it's nothing more than just fluff in the air. That's all it is. But we're looking out for these orbs. We're looking out for all the other bits and pieces. But one thing we weren't looking for was the behaviour of the animals that she's got. Now, she had 3 cats and 2 dogs. The 2 dogs, they were very apprehensive with everybody, and we just put that down to that's what the dogs are like. And the dogs and the cats, they were all there in the kitchen. They wouldn't move out of the kitchen. Now, I don't know if those of you who've got dogs and cats know how your pets work, but they don't like to stay in one place too long. But these animals, they just wanted to stay in the kitchen. And every time we went into the kitchen, because it was free reign for tea and coffee and things like this, so every time we went into the kitchen to get ourselves something, they would scatter, but they wouldn't move out of the kitchen. They would scatter. They'd be under the cupboards, around the back door, and all the rest of it.
Yeah, that's unusual animals don't usually act like that, do they?
Exactly. So we were looking, and we were going, every time we would say to each other, every time we go and say, you walk into that kitchen and see what the dogs do. It's not just me, is it? It's see if you do it. And the 4 of us, we all tried it at different times. They all moved in again. These animals were acting in the same way. It didn't matter who it was. So we said, right, hold on a minute. We're looking in the wrong direction here. And we said to the woman that owns the house, we said, look, what are your animals normally like? And she said, well, come to think of it, I'm quite surprised that at least the dogs aren't jumping up and down at you, because they're normally quite friendly. They're making a nuisance of themselves. I've just put it down to the fact that they've been quite well behaved. Well, we tried to coax the dogs, at least the dogs, out of the kitchen with some treats, some bits and pieces like this. And they wouldn't come. They would come up to the first step of this kitchen. It was a recessed kitchen. They came up to the first step of the kitchen, was 3 steps. And then they would start growling, and it's baring teeth, a whole lot. Now, it's not at us. It was at something. Now, we decided, right, let's keep a vigil on this doorway here, because something at this doorway is beginning to look very suspicious, the activity of the animals. So we were watching, and it was our second night being in there, and we're taking a little bit more notice of the area. And, we saw, well, I'm going to get laughed at here, I'm sure. We saw shadows forming in the doorway. No, I'm not laughing.
No, I hear quite a lot about shadows.
These were figures, shadows of figures moving around the doorway. There was nothing there to cause the shadow, but the shadow was there all the same. So the guy that was with us then decided to do this. Let's see if maybe they just need to move on. They don't seem to be making too much of a harmful mess of it. No one's getting hurt. There isn't poltergeist activity or anything. So let's see and it works. He performed this, I forget what it's called now, but I suppose it's like a spell or some kind of
ritual or something.
A ritual, yeah. Sure. And asked them to move towards the light, and after he had done that, we're talking minutes, and the dogs came walking out of the kitchen. And the cats as well. They all came walking out of the kitchen, and the dogs then were jumping up and down with us like the woman said they should be doing. They were quite happy, to be honest with you. And they got their treats, of course. But the cats, they walked into the room, and one thing that she said about the cats, she had two tomcats, two tabby toms, that were normally quite dismissive of humans, full stop. But they came up onto the settee, and one of them sat on my lap and was purring, whilst the other one was kind of making its way around all of our feet, kind of marking its territory sort of thing, as cats do. So very strange, to say the least. So yeah, these kinds of things, they do happen. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that ritual type of thing. Was it a kind of religious ritual? I think I think the religion comes into it as like a focus point rather than being actually a religious. Would you say that?
He was actually, yes, yeah. His name's Stuart. I don't think Stuart is a religious person through and through. I still know the guy. He isn't a religious person through and through, but he was calling upon Christ. Yeah.
Yeah, well, again, I think that's just a focus point for a spiritual being. Call it Christ or whatever you want to call it. It's actually a higher up spiritual being, isn't it? That's the way I see it, anyway.
Sure.
Whether Christ actually existed, I don't really know. But
well, that's a whole.
That is a whole new. Yeah, I mean, and you'd never get anywhere anyway. So.
Right.
But so yeah, it's a very interesting story though. But I know what you mean about the animals, because I mean, if anyone came into our house here, the dogs would sort of be all friendly and all over all the time. They wouldn't be carrying away. And obviously, the dogs, they must have been growling at something that and you seem to have got rid of it.
Yeah, well, Stuart did anyway. I mean,
you as a team.
Yeah. I mean, I must be honest. The young girl that was with us at the time, Stuart's niece, it affected her quite deeply, and she no longer wanted to be a part of what was going on.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, see, then most people would think, "Oh, that was very interesting. I want to do more of that," rather than sort of back out of it.
Yeah. It really had an effect on the young girl. Yeah,
that's a shame. So is she like that now? Do you know?
I haven't, to be honest with you. I think she lives in Canada now. She got married and moved away, but I haven't heard much about her, to be honest.
Yeah, it just makes you wonder what they're like in later life, if they might change their mind and think, oh, I might get back into that, because you do hear that sometimes as well.
Oh, I've known of people to come and go from this because of similar situations. Yeah, that's for sure. There is something that I think that finds you. You don't find it.
Yeah.
It finds you.
Yeah, a number of times I've heard that as well.
Yeah, it seems to work that way. Yeah.
I think I've been told that a lot of things happen for a reason, and I do believe that, because I know things have happened in my life for a reason. Or seemingly things have fallen into place and things like that. Do
you believe in coincidences, David?
Coincidences? No, I don't know if they're. Yeah, I suppose I've got to believe in coincidences, but I also believe that things are pre-planned as well, to a certain extent.
Yeah. Serendipity, yeah?
Yeah, to a certain extent, because I think I've had that proven to me that things have happened for a reason.
Okay.
Well,
I tell you what, I'd love to hear more about this.
You meet people that sort of bring you together with other people, and for reasons.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to explain, actually, but but as I say, this is your show, not mine.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's get you on my show. Let's do a show swap, and let's get the juicy bits.
I can tell you a couple of my little experiences from when I won't do it on this show because I've done it a few times before anyway. So
right. Okay, well that's a deal then.
I've got a few things.
You on mine. There you go.
Brilliant. Okay then, Johnny. You've got a deal. How much do you pay?
Well, I don't know. Let me
joking.
just check the piggy bank. Let me have a look. Yeah.
No, I'm only joking. We do this for love, don't we, Johnny? Not for anything else.
I'll be honest with you. I've had a couple of, shall we say, I'm not mentioning names here. That wouldn't be right. But I've had some, shall we say, notarizable names, if that's the right word. Quote me figures with a couple of zeros at the end. Yeah, and you think,
really?
Who do you think you're speaking to? I'm just some geezer on the internet trying to make ends meet here. Get a grip, fella.
Yeah, well, the way I look at it, you're getting them on. I mean, I know I'm not doing you a favour or sort of thing, but you get them on the show, hoping that they'll get something out of it, might sell a few more books or whatever.
Well, exactly.
And it's getting their name out there, being heard, and
That's it. It's the profile. It's all for the profile.
It's just,
as they used to say in the old days of when papers were a real thing, not on the line. It's all column inches, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I've got to say, just about every guest I've had, they've all been pleased to come on and sort of. Not sell their wares. So it sounds wrong, but it's a sort of plug. It says about their books they've got coming out and everything, and I do my best to sort of try and point people in that direction.
Well, I've been a long time listening to your shows, Matt, and I think all the guests I've heard, they've all seemed to enjoy themselves whilst they've been on your show. So I think you're right, absolutely. It's and as it should be.
Oh well, thank you very much for saying. That's probably because I'm a bit of a nut. Probably it's
might be.
I can't take anything seriously. No, I don't mean that in that respect. I do take the paranormal very seriously, but I do like to put a little bit of fun into it as well.
It's got to. You can't take everything you like too seriously.
Especially in this day and age, after the last 18 months or so we've had. It's been a nightmare.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's depressed me over, on the odd occasion, I must say. It gets me down, but I keep hearing it bashing day after day on the BBC.
Mm-hmm.
But that's another story.
That is definitely something to explore.
Yeah. But so any other paranormal experiences you got? Any other little stories you've got that you can tell us?
I've got plenty. Honestly. Oh,
well,
my goodness.
Knock them out one after the other, mate. I don't mind.
Knock them out, bat them in. I'll knock them out. Well, yeah, there's been a few situations, shall we say, that just don't seem to make sense at the time. But when certain things happen and it's so profound, I don't know why I'm so shocked. Because small little things will happen and I'll just end up laughing them off. There was one time I was living in a place in transit just outside Chichester, down on the south coast there. And I was living in this house. I rented this house. It was whilst we were in transit, we're moving about. And it was in a tiny little village called Waterside, I think it was called. Anyway, tiny. It's a little hamlet. And it was one of these places. It was great in the middle of the night because there was no light pollution, and you could see everything out in the sky on a clear night. But in this little flat, converted house into a flat, I used to wake up in the morning and all of the doors would be open. Now, I mean, every single door in the flat would be open, including the airing cupboard door, all the closet doors. All in the kitchen, all of the cupboard doors, everything. The only door that wasn't open was my front door. Thankfully, that led out onto the main road that was past. So I thought to myself, all right, okay, I've been up, haven't I? I've been up and I've been sleepwalking because I've had people tell me I do that. I've been up sleepwalking. I've opened all the flipping doors. Why would I be doing that? So I decided that what I'll do is. It happened quite a few times. And what I'd do is the bedroom door, I would lash down. And I lashed it down with a belt that went over the doorknob and lashed down onto something else that was adjacent to my bedside cabinet. So it meant that if I was in my sleep, I'm going to have to really think about how I unlashed this belt.
I've got to say, so not such a good idea if you're going to have a fire, but there you go.
No, not need a damn good dump in the middle of the night. You're done, aren't you? Yeah. But, sorry. But I thought that's what I do. But blows me, I've woken up and I've undone the belt or something's undone the belt. And, again, all the doors, all the cupboard doors are undone. Now, I sat there that night and I've got the laptop on and I'm chatting to my friend who lives about 20 miles up the road and I'm just tapping down on the keyboard telling him what's happened. And as I'm doing this, there's an electrical cord that hung from my TV cabinet that was plugged into a VCR. That the VCR had gone, it was broken, it was in for repair. So the cord, the cable was just dangling off the edge of the shelf there. And every time I'm speaking, this cord starts to rock left to right. And when I stop speaking, it stopped. So I forget now what I'm using. I think, was I using my mobile phone, or I can't remember. I was using my mobile phone or a program on the laptop. Any which way, I'm chatting to my friend and I'm saying to him, do you know what? You know where my VCR normally keep, blah, blah. Yeah. Well, and I'm telling him, and I said, I'm speaking now and this thing's flapping from left to right. And now that I'm gonna do this. And I just stopped just like that. And as I stopped, it stopped flapping. And you could hear him. He's laughing. He's going, oh, my God. He says, that and all your doors opening and shutting. He says, the place is possessed. So I said, look, don't say that. I said, I've got to sleep here tonight. That's, we're laughing and joking. And he says, well, try a few experiments. Just see what it will do. So I thought, right, okay. So I did this. Okay, if the wobbly cord is reacting to my voice, wobble now when I'm going to shut up. And I shut up and it wobbled. And I'm thinking, right, okay. So then I tried a few things in the reverse way, if you know what I mean. I'm going, look, as I'm talking, stop wobbling. But when I stop talking, start wobbling. Well, it did that. Now, I'm thinking to myself, I'm looking through all the scenarios, David, right? I'm thinking what it could be. We're not far from the front road. From the main road outside the front. I'm thinking, could it be traffic? And well, there's no traffic going past. Could it be anything? Could it be something outside that's making a vibration? Well, no, we would have heard it. It was the dead of night.
Or a draft or something. That's what you've got to think of, isn't it?
And then I just politely asked it to stop messing me about. I said, look, if you're the same thing that's doing all of these things with all the doors and all the cupboards, and you're just letting me know that you're here, well, I know you're here. Can you please stop doing this? Because I'm going to be honest with you, you're starting to spook me out. And it stopped. And it never happened again.
Really?
Until I'm out the back of this flat and the girl next door to me, she's moving out. And because, she's just got somewhere else to move to. And I'm helping her load up her trailer. Now, all of a sudden, I've got this electric guitar. I had this electric guitar in my front room. And it wasn't plugged into the amp or anything. But I'm out the back and we just hear wang, wang, wang on the electric guitar. And she looks at me and she said, oh, because she had often moaned that I'm playing the guitar too late at night. She says, oh, who have you got in there then? I said, nobody. She said, what? Who's playing your guitar? And I went, I haven't got a fucking clue. And we both walked in and the guitar's laid on the floor. It's not plugged into the amp. The amp isn't on. It's not, right? But we heard it, mate. It was quang, quang. It was 3 or 4 chords. And I thought, and the weirdest thing is that if I could play the guitar just as good as that bloody ghost could, I'd be laughing. But all seriousness, something had happened there. And that was the last. I just freaked. I'll be honest with you. I just went, no, I've had enough now. I've had enough of this, blah, blah, blah. And I decided to go and see my friend who lived 20 miles up the way and sleep on his couch that night.
Right, that's freaky, isn't it?
That was freaky. That's one of the most prolific things, paranormal, that I've had there. Yeah.
Did you look into the history of the building? See if there was anything happened in the past.
Well, I did. The landlady, they only lived two doors down. And the flat bit that I had was a converted, they used to have it as a butcher's shop. It was a butcher's shop. And, they gutted it all out and refurbished it and turned it into a flat. So as far as I know, it was before, there had been a couple of other occupants before I moved in, but it was not long converted from a butcher's shop. Oh. So that's all I know about it, really.
That makes me think that cold and a leg of lamb swinging in the,
That would be handy for a pork joint to land on your table. But, Yeah, but no, it's weird stuff like that, and even in the place where I am now, in this house that I'm in now, we've got a stairwell, and as I'm speaking to you, in the peripheral of my vision, I keep looking over to my right to see if anything's there, because we see all kinds of things on the stairwell that just kind of like shadowy figures, if you will,
Right.
that will just appear. And then disappear as quick as they can. I've been up for, like you do, you get up in the middle of the night to go and do what you do, and I've done that, and I've washed my hands at the sink in the bathroom to go back into the bedroom, and I've looked in the bathroom mirror, and in the reflection behind me is a fully formed shadow being.
Oh my God!
Now, it's seen me see it, and it started off to its right-hand side, which will be going into our middle bedroom here, which is unoccupied. So I don't know who was more startled, me or it, but it shot off the minute he saw me recognise it. So I do wonder sometimes if I've carried something forward with me, if something's attached itself or what have you. Someone has suggested that to me in the past.
Which is not a good thing, is it?
Well, no, I wouldn't think it. No, it doesn't seem to be doing me any harm. It doesn't. For instance, we've got a purpose-built studio where I'm sitting here. I'm speaking to you from right now, and in front of me here, I've got one of these boom mics.
Right.
It's swing mic, and it will move on its own for no reason at all. We used to do podcasts and radio shows from this little makeshift studio here, and the thing will just move away from me. Now, you know what these radio mics are like, David, I'm sure. That they're not flimsy things. They don't just move on their own.
No.
You've got to move them. And this thing will just move away. The minute it used to play a game with you, you go to speak to it and it will move away. You think, right, okay.
I thought you were saying that. I'd be worried if mine started moving, because mine's on a stand and it's sort of quite a heavy stand.
Right.
But yeah, good blimey.
So silly little things like that, and they seem to be happening quite frequently, but they all seem to be in correlation to light phenomena. I haven't said the word right. Light anomalies in the sky, or a light phenomena kind of experience. Yeah, they happen in relation to those, very closely in time-wise related. Yeah.
Right. Earlier you mentioned about orbs. Now.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have an argument with you, but
no, let's have it. Cool.
No, I've been to Rendlesham Woods quite often in the middle of the night, right, with a few friends and that, and we've taken photos in the dark, and most of them all come out black, right?
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden you'll get like one or two pictures that will come out with loads of orbs, or as we call them, orbs in them. And especially when someone who's been a little bit mediumistic type of thing, if that's a word, points in that direction and says, "There's activity over there." So you point your camera over there and you take your picture. You can't see anything in the dark, but it's only when you see your picture when you get home, you see all these orbs. Now, then you take photos again afterwards, and it's all black again. So, if it was dust and moisture in the air, wouldn't you get that on every photo?
Normally you do. There's a lot of pictures we've examined. When I was with it, when the digital revolution took over and everyone's then jumping from 35mm to digital. A lot of the earlier cameras, so let's be honest with you, I'm being very vague, I'm being very blasé with this statement, I do realise what I've said, but a lot of the early digital cameras were faulty to the point where they would pick up any kind of thing, and you would be fooled into thinking, hello, that looks strange.
Yeah.
But today's technology, I must be honest with you, it's got a lot better, isn't it? Much, much better. Yeah. But to answer your question now, with the orbs, they're not seen at one point, but they are seen the next, then it's most probably there is something there that's trying to, come through. I've seen orbs. Don't get me wrong. I believe in orbs. I've seen them physically. I've had them move around me. Orbs are real for sure. It's just those particular types on certain programs, shall we say, that everyone goes all goes crazy because they've seen a load of orbs, and really all it is a bit of dust or
I know
moisture.
Something when you see something move across the screen, it could be a little insect or something. I agree with you there. Yeah. And also, I mean, when you see when you see something on the television, like, I don't know, for instance, when they've got lights shining, say Strictly Come Dancing, you can see the dust in the light beams, can't you? So,
yes, absolutely.
So that would be the kind of thing you'd be picking up with your camera.
Yeah.
But because
again, down in Cornwall there, at St Michael's Bay, if you know the area, down by Penzance, absolutely gorgeous area. We were. It was a fantastic sunset. All the skies were purple and orange. It was amazing. We stood on the beach. The tide's out. We were going to walk over to St Michael's Mount, which had a causeway that you could walk over when the tide's out. But we decided not to do it just because sod's law. The minute we want to come back, all the tide's coming in. We, weren't too sure of the tide times. So we decided just to stay where we were. And of course, pictures were taken because it's such a gorgeous night. Now, everybody else's picture that got taken by the same camera was great. Lovely picture, golden, this, that, and the other. They took pictures of me, and there was orbs of different sizes all around me. Now, I personally turned around and went, that's moisture. Because we're right on the seaside, it's sand, there's moisture from the sea. I would not accept that they were orbs. Now, the people that we were with, they all said, well, there's no orbs around us, Johnny. We don't have. How come then the moisture or the sand doesn't affect us, but it affects you? Work that one out, Einstein, And I'm stood there and I'm scratching my head because as much as I want to believe that there's orbs there, my mind would not process it through. It's just my own personal thing. But to say that, I've been in situations where I've taken pictures of people, one or two people there, it's, as you say, nothing. It's just the picture of the person or in the same situation as you've been, it's just a black picture or a dark picture. And then I've taken pictures where there is definitely something there. And in some cases, when you've blown the picture up, you can see something within the orb that looks very much like a face.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you get the different colours and things as well, don't you?
Yeah.
Have you heard about the? Right. You get like misty shapes as well.
Yeah. It's that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is very complexing. I mean, to be honest, I'm not quite too sold, if you will, on the orbs thing. I should be. I mean, I've seen plenty of them. One of the places we went to, and this was in early 90s, I did a fly drive thing with a friend of mine down the west coast of the States. We picked up a car in Portland and we were to deliver it in Santa Cruz, and we went everywhere, mate. Honestly, it took us 10 days to deliver this blinking car. And one of the places we went to was a place just south of Mount Shasta, I think it was, run by a gentleman by the name of James Gilliland. I don't know if you've heard of this chap.
I don't think so. What was the place?
Okay. It was. He runs a situation out there called ESETI. It's the ESETI Ranch, not to be confused with CSETI with Dr. Stephen Greer.
Right.
This is ESETI.
No.
And you pay a few quid and you pitch up a tent on his grounds because you're going to be able to see some light anomalies, UFOs maybe, or what have you, flying across the sky. Now, we did see some stuff, but the most shall we say, enigmatic thing that happened to us whilst we were there, that we only stayed the night, was orbs. And these were orbs all over this field that we were camping in. And they were coming inside the tent and then going back out of the tent. And some of these orbs, they seemed to be intelligently controlled. They weren't just flapping about with the breeze.
And that's with your naked eyes, you're seeing it.
That's with the naked eye, yeah. That's not without any filter or a lens or anything like that, no. So I should be a lot more susceptible, but there's something in my brain that blocks it out. And I've often been cursed and shouted at and moaned at for it, I'll be honest with you. So
no, I do know what you mean, because you do look at your pictures and you think, no, surely it can't be. But, but I know a few people that have sort of looked at them and they say that they are orbs, so I just accept that they are,
Sure.
And when, as I say, most of the pictures, as I say, always come out black, You know, and to my way of thinking, like, well, shouldn't they all come out with orbs or all come out black? You know,
Yeah.
you know, why would you get a mixture?
Oh, I agree with you, David. I really do feel that there's something afoot there. Something is happening. It's a way of the other side, if you will, or something along those lines, trying to make some kind of contacts for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I've only seen a red orb twice actually, on two different occasions up there. We were actually in the car park and I saw a red movement, and the lady I was with, I don't know if you've heard of Brenda Butler. She wrote the book Skycrash.
Yes.
Yeah, well,
That's right.
Brenda's a friend of mine. She said, you saw that as well, didn't you? I said, yeah, I saw that. It was like a red movement. And then there was another occasion, I think.
Is this at
Sorry.
Was this at Rendlesham?
Rendlesham, yeah, sorry.
At the Rendlesham place?
Yeah. Yeah, obviously I've
sure,
moved since.
sure.
I used to live in near Rendlesham. I was about 20 minutes away, but I live on Canby Island, Essex now, so I'm not quite as near. So,
right.
But I do need to go up there again. You know, go and visit some friends and stuff. But it's not quite. It's not quite the way it was when I first started going there. It's changed quite a bit. You know, they've been sort of hacking a lot of trees down and things, so it wasn't quite as comfortable walking around there.
What's your whole views on the old Rendlesham thing there, mate? I mean, how do you feel about it?
As far as I know, and as far as I believe, I mean, I don't know if you know, Colonel Holt's a good friend of mine.
Right, yeah, sure.
He's actually stayed in our home, and
Lovely.
Yeah, and even he doesn't know. He still says to this day he doesn't know what they saw. They saw something. Obviously, the event before theirs on the first night with Jim and Jim Penniston and John Burrows. I think we've got to take that something did happen because they both saw something and they didn't make it up. Jim still swears that he touched the craft, so, and I believe Jim. I mean, he's been on the show. We did quite a long show actually. And I did quite a lot of talk sort of off the show as well with him, and he told me a few things that weren't on the show, sort of thing. But yeah, I do believe Jim saw something. And now I know Colonel Holt's got a bit of a problem with the binary code and everything. I don't know, because I mean Jim says that he kept it quiet because he thought he was going crazy basically because he had about 14 pages of binary code written in his notebook. Now, why somebody would actually sit down? I mean, to be honest, you'd have to understand binary to actually write it all down in your notebook. And Jim says he didn't know he didn't know how to read binary. So to read, so you've got to accept that on face value. Because when it was all worked out, it did actually made some sense, didn't it? Apparently.
Was there not some reference towards Nuremberg? Have I got that right, or was that something I've got wrong?
Nuremberg.
Nuremberg in Germany.
I don't remember.
I might have read.
No, I don't remember anything to do with that.
Me.
No, there was.
Okay.
In fact, we're still waiting for Jim. The second volume, because Jim's book is well worth getting. The Rendlesham Enigma. Because it does actually, I don't know if you've read it but if anyone's interested,
I haven't, not in full. I haven't in full.
So if anyone's interested in the Rendlesham event, I would say that that's probably one of the best books on the market, because it goes it takes you through minute to minute what happened basically, and who was there, who was present, what they've said over the years. You know, it's got everything in there. So how people's statements changed. And memories also get misty as well. Even Colonel Holt. When we've been up to the woods with him, even he says he can't remember exactly where it was. You know, he knows the area, the rough area, but actually the actual pinpointing exactly where this craft was supposed to have landed, which Jim and John reported on. It's still a little bit misty. And of course he knows where he went, because they went across what is known as Capel Green, but it's not Capel Green, because Capel Green is on the other side of the road, which is another, it's Capel St Andrew, I believe it's called, or St Mary, something like that. But that field there is like the farmer's field, which they call Capel Green, but Capel Green is on the other side of the road. But anyway, so he knows where they followed the lights, and of course, they did come to a point where they could see the the lighthouse flashing. And of course they knew it was the lighthouse because they'd known about it since they've been based there. Yeah, so otherwise there'd have been UFO reports every night, wouldn't there? You know.
Mm-hmm.
So, but anyway, this is turning into my show. But
that's good. No, you carry on, mate. This is brilliant.
No, but I believe that something happened. Yes, I do believe there was strange lights. And I do believe Jim and John saw something.
Yeah.
You know, but of course I wasn't there.
Well, I agree with you. I think they did see something. I think I think they did see something. Now I do have. I've got to be careful how I say this now. I do have people I know who, at the time in 1980, were stationed at RAF Fylingdales in Yorkshire that tracked aerial phenomena coming in.
Ah, well, that's interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't go any further than that, but I do have that knowledge. So, and that is, believe me, very, very secured knowledge on that.
Yeah.
The person that told me that, I know, wasn't, telling any porcupines or anything.
Well,
like
I do
that.
know that things were seen on radar as well, weren't they? Even from the Rendlesham area.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. But it's not the first time something like that's been going on down there, and it's certainly not the last either,
No,
is
it's
it?
not.
I mean, it has been a bit of a hotspot for a while.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've seen, when I've been down there at night, sort of at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, you can see a star. Well, in fact, somebody noticed it before I did. He was watching a star, and it started moving and stopping. and then
Right.
another one started moving and stopping. So what they were, don't know.
Well,
Because stars don't do that.
No,
Which is another little story I could tell you on your show about one of my young experiences.
That sounds awesome. Can't wait for
Yeah,
that.
I won't do it on this show
We'll
because
have to get
I've done that a few times before on this show.
You've killed that one a few times. And yeah, sure. We'll bring it on. We'll talk about that. That sounds great.
Yeah.
The whole. I had an experience in 1980, November of 1980, when I was living up in Yorkshire, not too far away from where Paul Sinclair is based at the moment. And but we had family that, well, the reason we moved up there because our family was MOD and Army. And this was 77, we moved up that way. And I did my senior schooling up that way in a small town called Market Wheaton, for anyone that knows the area. Now, it was a very odd time of life, and I had a certain amount of aerial sightings. I used to go along to the local Army Cadet centre, and I become an Army Cadet, and I moved myself up to the ranks of sergeant before I left. And I loved it. It was great. It was boys of all boys kind of thing. We're out every weekend, come rain, snow, shine, whatever. And we loved it. My mum didn't love it. I used to come home caked up like I don't know what. She'd be screaming at me, don't move from that step until I wash you down, that kind of thing. Yeah, we used to go out and we used to see all kinds of aerial phenomena kicking off. And they used to take us out there into the North York moors. And we'll be spending the weekend doing our orienteering, our map and compass drills and stuff like this. So the object of the idea would be for us to make our way from point A to point B, and that could be a 5-mile trek, but not using any of the roads, just using your compass and, and all the landmarks to guide you. So for a bunch of young lads, sometimes that got a little bit hilarious where we actually ended up, I'll be honest with you. But nonetheless, during the night, whilst we camped down, we would see some really strange light anomalies kicking off. So I fast forward then to not that long ago, and I've managed to catch a YouTube podcast kind of thing about this chap who's talking about light anomalies and all the rest of it, and I'm recognising some of these village names that this Yorkshireman's talking about. And I thought, this sounds interesting. That sounds very familiar. Hold on a minute. Who's this guy? And it was Paul Sinclair.
Oh, yeah, we all love and respect Paul.
Absolutely. So I had to get a hold of him, like you do. Got a hold of him eventually and told him my story and what I'd seen and what have you. It took us a couple of years, obviously COVID in between and what have you, but we finally managed to get up to there. And this is only, about 5 weeks ago, not that long ago, we went up there to go and film him and interview him and, get the nuts and bolts to it all, that kind of thing. But if I zip back now quickly to 1980, one of the things that Paul wanted to talk to me about was my experience whilst in the Army Cadets, and experiencing a craft come down whilst we were messing about one evening in our Army Cadet uniforms. On the edge of the up there at the time was an old RAF base, which had been taken over by the Army Royal Corps of Transport, as it was at the time, for Army driver training. We were up there, basically got ourselves onto the base, and the game was not to get caught by the regimental police. Okay, so that was our little game, and we were quite successful. We had a bit of a run of this, and we used to call it baiting the squaddies, that kind of thing, as you do when you're kids, you find things to do. And there was one particular evening, the back end of November and 1980, and we witnessed a white triangular craft come down and settle not too far away from us. Made no noise, no sound at all. It was internally lit and it was triangular, and as it landed, it oscillated slightly, and we saw that it was pyramidic.
Wow.
Now, I do believe, Paul, I spoke about this on Paul's show, his Truth Proof show there. Now, I do believe, apparently, Mr. Halter's interested in that story and would like to know more. Because obviously the connotations of it being so close to the Rendlesham time period.
Yeah, well, it was only about a month out, wasn't it?
Not too far, that's exactly. Yeah.
That's fascinating.
There's a lot more to that story that, I have gone into details before, but I have been asked not to go into details anymore about it.
Right.
It's since I came out on Paul's show, it's out there, it's not top secret or nothing. I came out on Paul's show and I went into detail, but since then I've been asked not to go into too much detail.
Well, let's to catch up with that one.
I'll give you all the juicy bits off there.
Okay, great. Do you feel it might have been a military craft or not?
Yeah, possibly. I'm not ruling anything out at all. One thing I will say is that the RMPs at the time did come out. We thought they'd come out to get us, but they were most definitely coming out to see what this craft was. And when they approached it, when they drove up to it, it blinked out. It just blinked out, disappeared.
Oh, right. So it doesn't sound like a military one then, does it, from that point of view?
Well, I'm not saying it's not. You just don't know what we've got kicking around,
Yeah.
I'm not ruling anything out, David. I'm not saying that it's not. I'm not saying that it is.
No. That's why they're unidentified.
Sure. Yeah.
Interesting story, though, mate.
Yeah, but the whole thing there with with the time period and the Rendlesham Forest kind of incident, as you say, not much, a month or so, not even a month, was it? A month later.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Well, I guess on that point, I guess we should leave it there. But it's been great having you on, Johnny. But we'll have to do it again sometime.
I think we should. Yeah, thank you very much for your time, David. It's been an absolute pleasure being on your show. Long time listener.
Thank you very much. It's great to have you on. It's great to have a listener on, Fred. It's great to know somebody's listening out there anyway. But, I say, I mean it, Johnny. Maybe in a few months we'll get you back on again and we'll go through some more stories. But,
there's a couple more. There is a couple more, yeah.
But we might have some more experiences by then, and perhaps we'll all be out of all this mess we're in at the moment.
Hopefully.
Start getting out a bit more. I mean, I went out on an investigation this weekend, just gone, which was pretty interesting. We had stones flying about, which was a bit interesting. Yeah. Perhaps if I come on your show, I'll tell you about it. But,
damn right. Let's get you on this show. We do two types of shows. We do the main show, and then we do what we call the added extra. And I think that would be a great thing. Come on the added extra with us, and we can just go for it. And we can swap stories.
Don't get me on your rock and roll show though, because I can't play the guitar.
No.
I wish I could, but...
Well, yeah. No, there's no worries. No worries at all. It'll be a pleasure to have you on our show too.
Okay.
So, yeah,
thank you, Johnny. It's been great. Very pleased to have you on, and made a new friend, I believe. And
I think so. Yes, absolutely.
Give us a link to your show so people can catch up with it if...
Yeah. Shall I do that now?
Yeah, do it now. And what I'll do, on the Paranormal Dimensions page, I'll also put a link on there as well.
Well, our show on YouTube it's just called, it's called The Invited Live Stream. So if you look for The Invited Live Stream on YouTube, you should be able to find
that
us.
sounds like an easy one to catch up to. Brilliant, Johnny. Thank you very much. Stay in touch anytime, Johnny, anyway. And
we will. We'll be in touch. No worries.
All right, mate.
No worries.
Take care of yourself, and thanks for coming.
You too.
Cheers, mate.
Have
Cheers.
a good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye. You've been listening to Paranormal Dimensions on the Paranormal UK Radio Network. I'm David Young. Thank you for listening. I hope you'll join us again next week.
Paranormal Dimensions is as bright and powerful as our celestial star, the sun. And although it's expending thousands of pounds of energy every minute of the day, have no fear. There's plenty left.
Paranormal Dimensions is a regular feature on Mondays on the Paranormal UK Radio Network.
They're laughing at you. They're not laughing with you. Fine.
I remember my daughter Kerry saying to me, you know, Dad, one day I'm going to be able to walk down Union Street and I'm going to be able to say, my dad's not mad. Look at what he said. Look at what is happening. He was right.
After 30 years, thank God! Thank God I never seen you on Morgan when I was like a teenager, and I thought, oh my God, I said that man, even then.
Oh, thank you.
So, and now, thank God. Thank God.
You've been so kind to everyone.
No
and
problem.
So patient.
No.
Thank you very much.
Have a picture of it.
Of course, yeah. Which one, that one?
Yeah.
Who's it for?
Yeah, that's Joe. Hey!
Oh, my hero.
Oh, you're mine. Hey!
Brilliant work you're doing.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Oh, it's all yours.
Thank you. We love you. Can we get a selfie?
Go on,
You're
then.
so amazing.
Go on then.
Oh, well
Thank
done.
you.
We love you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey!
Cheers, mate. I've been following you for years. Keep up
Cheers,
the good work.
mate. Cheers. Thank you. Thank you, mate.
But how good does that feel to say that they're not laughing at you now?
No, they're not laughing at me now.
No, they're not.
They're trying to ignore me. The sight of these people in these vast numbers walking through the London streets saying we're not having it anymore is
so freaking emotional, you know. You know, I've done some things in my life, but you know, this is an incredible day for me to have seen all those years ago, those decades ago, where no one wanted to know and everything you said was crazy, and now you see the world waking up on this scale. So you know, the whole COVID era has been a fascistic nightmare, but it has woken people up to the fact that there are forces running human society that are not the people they see, and we have an opportunity now to turn that, seeing that, into ceasing to cooperate with it. And if the kind of numbers we're starting to see cease to cooperate with the diktats of authority and fascism, then the numbers alone mean it cannot prevail. So this is a fantastic, pivotal day, and a day that gives you enormous encouragement for where we go from here. Hey, hey, how are you, man? Hi. Can I get a picture of you? Yeah, of course. I love this. Thank you. How the police should be. Excellent. Big fan, my friend. Thank you, mate.
Wait and see.
The coronavirus pandemic started in China. Oxygen, medical supplies and hospital staff have
One of the 5 vaccines and research.
Stage 1, you create a problem. It could be a manufactured virus. You want a reaction, and you want them to either say, do something, or you want them to accept what the authorities suggest must be done. So one of the agendas is to massively cull the population. They want to reduce the numbers.